Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today we'll start talking about um, scholars. That's what I call this subject. Last time we talked about the belief, believing in Allah, and we explained the Ikhlas chapter. And I think now immediately we need to talk about scholars. And this subject is very important because this will actually directly affect our knowledge in Islam and how should we take information and where should we take information from and why. Now, talking about scholars, let's say that scholars in Islam are people who spend years and years learning the right things because there are people who spend years and years to learn not the right things, to learn things that are not agreed upon by the actual scholars. And they will think that they are scholars, but they're not. So, how would we know that this person is a scholar and is authentic and is trusted and we can rely on what he's saying or not? This all boils to what the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, said, or Master Muhammad, what is he said, إذا رأيتم اختلافا, if you see difference, فعليكم بالسواد الأعظم, then seek or follow the most majority. ومن شذ شذ في النار, and who deviates, deviates to hell. Here it says that if you see difference, somebody says, I am saying the truth, and the other person saying, I am saying the truth, and you don't know who's saying the truth, then follow the most majority, which means not the most majority of the general public, but the most majority of the scholars, which is telling us, so it's like our Master Muhammad, the Prophet, is telling us that Allah will bless this nation, that the most majority of of the scholars will follow the prophets and will be on the right path. And that's what he said in one of the other hadith, in one of the other of his sayings. He said, Yadullahi ma'al jama'ah. The hand of Allah is with the majority or with the um, collective people. Um, and on another third hadith, he said, لا يجمع الله أمتي على ضلالة. Allah will not gather my nation on misguidance. Which means if you see the scholars have agreed upon something, the majority of the scholars agreed upon something that this is right or this is wrong, it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have put the blessed there so that they know it's right or wrong. And they would not follow Satan and they would not follow their desire to decide what is right and what is wrong, but they will follow our Master Muhammad. They will follow the Prophet and his guidance through the Quran and the Sunnah. And Sunnah means what he said, which means our Master Muhammad, and also what he did. So it's both this what he said and what he did. So therefore, when we want, for example, let's say a person wants to become an Islamic scholar, they have to go and learn from an Islamic scholar, or they have to go and learn from an Islamic school, and they have to sit with a teacher and listen from him or her, because we have no differentiation in Islam between a woman scholar and a man scholar. Both can become scholar and both can teach. And in the narration of the hadith, we have ladies who actually were scholars and narrated the hadith of our Master Muhammad. Um, so if a person wants to become a scholar, they have to go and sit with a scholar. So how would you know that person is a scholar? Now, let's go back all the way to the time of the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam, peace and blessings be upon him, he was with the companions, and um, he would teach people. He would teach the companions. And then he would say about a certain companion that this companion, for example, this specific companion is good in this, or this specific companion is good at that. And he would give his words about this person. And the rest of the companions knows and sees and hears what the Prophet is saying about a certain person. For example, Mu'adh, أعلمكم بالحلال والحرام. Mu'adh is the best one among you who knows in halal and haram, and so on and so forth. So among the companions themselves, they were scholars. They were people who are specialized in knowledge that they took from our Master Muhammad. All of the companions, or most of them, heard from our Master Muhammad, but many of them only conveyed what they heard. The scholars were multiple people who had the authority to start um, delegating or start extracting knowledge or kind of becoming scholars to know what the text mean or what the saying mean and can um, you know become a scholar. Okay, and the companions were um, at the same number as the prophets and messengers. Prophets and messengers were 124,000 prophets and messenger, and the companions were 124,000 companion. Imagine less than probably 20 person out of those 100,000 were scholars. Our Master Ali, our Master Abdullah bin Mas'ud, and so on and so forth. And they were known. So even, for example, our Master Omar, the companion, he was one of the four Khalifas. He used to go to our Master Ali and ask him about things. So they know that those certain people were entrusted with knowledge and were authorized by knowledge. So when those people, when those companions had students, they also entrusted knowledge to some of the students who are good and can handle what they know. And the companions of those students also saw, for example, let's say Ali or another person, Abdullah bin Mas'ud or Abu Huraira, teaching their students and telling their colleagues that this person is good and the other person is good. And so they would witness for them that, yes, this person is a scholar. He's a good person. You can trust him. So, how would you know that this person is a scholar? This person is a trustworthy? It's when the other companions, the other colleagues of that person would testify for him that we saw his teacher, we saw our teacher say and give validation for that person that he is trustworthy, and so on and so forth for each generation. And that's how you can trust the process because each generation is telling you if that person is trustworthy or not. And when you take from that person and become a student of that person, you're becoming a part of the chain. and the chain is extended from our Master Muhammad, and so on and so forth in each generation until we have it right now, for example, in Al Azhar, and the schools write like it. Because we have many schools in this era, in this time, but a lot of them do not have this authentic chain. They took from some people, maybe, or they read from books, but they did not sit with authentic scholars and been validated by them. So when we search for a person who's talking and wants to listen to them, we need to validate that they are in an authentic chain and they themselves are authenticated to teach you all the subjects or at least one subject they are specialized in and so on. Because there is and not everything different. This is a good point. Not every difference means astray. Not everything different means astray. Because we have, for example, four fiqh madhab or four jurisprudence schools. All of them are right. It's the difference of how they reach to the conclusion, but the end result is right. But there are some schools that are away from the actual um, correct understanding. So the four, for example, the four different, or we can say eight, and even there are 90 schools, but many of them were gone, were correct in the fiqh. And they all are right, but but all of them have different ways of getting to the truth. So, for example, let's imagine that the truth is how you get to the number four. Number four is the truth. And let's say it's number four because it has the same letters as the name Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, four letters. So if you get to number four, how you can get to number four? You have many ways, and all of them are correct, but each one of them is a one singular way. So you can say 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. You can say 2 plus 2 is 4. You can say 3 plus 1 is 4. You can say 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. You can say 8 divided by 2 is 4, and so on and so forth. So all of them get to the right thing, but through different ways. So they are all are correct, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who do not get to number four. They will tell you 3 plus 2 equals 4. That's wrong. That's unacceptable because with Islamic scholars, they actually follow an authentic mental model, exactly like how mathematics works. Religion itself is a science. When you take it and you want to study it, there are rules and fundamentals and things to follow so you get to the results with a correct mental model. Now, worship itself is a personal delegation, is a personal act, but the religion itself is a science. So we have a couple of things. For example, we have, so now we know that there are people who are different in the right thing, which is all of them are correct, but they all reach to the right result in a different way. And there are people who are outside of the actual um, um, scientific society. Because even in Islam, we have a scientific society. And that's what we rely on. And that's what our Master Muhammad said, that they will not be gathered upon false or misleaded, will not be misleaded. Now we have the text, which means the Quran or the Sunnah, and we have this text, we can take it and then understand it. And then we have to implement that text. So it's three stages that some people will make it two. It is not two at all. It's the text, it's how you understand the text, and the third stage is how to implement the text. The text itself, for example, says that when a person steals, um, or let's say when a person commits adultery, which means having an unfair relationship, a relationship outside of marriage, and this person was married, then they need to be stoned. Okay, that's the text. Now, how do we understand the text according to how our Master Muhammad taught us? We would go and we will seek evidence. But before even seeking evidence, we will not go and run behind people to catch them. We will not go behind people and search in their private life. We will not go behind people and start investigating. It's only when they come to us and they tell us as who? Tell us as the government, not as people or groups, that they have done this and they are wanting to have their punishment and so on and so forth. And most honestly, I don't think anybody will do that. People will just ask for forgiveness and that's it. So you see, that's how we understand the text, which is we should not go behind people and starting to spy on them and investigate without them telling us about the thing. So we need to hide the bad things. We should not go in society and start exposing bad things that are happening in people's life. We should turn our gaze away from what they're doing because it's in private, it's not in public. Now, how do we implement the text? Implementing the text, if they come to us, we will start taking any excuse to not punish them. We will say that maybe you forgot, maybe you didn't do it, maybe you're crazy. And that's exactly what our Master Muhammad did. And then when the man who came to our Master Muhammad insisted and insisted and insisted, our Master Muhammad told them to do it because it's the Sharia of Allah. Because this man is married, why would he go outside and be unfaithful? He can go and get married. So when they started stoning him, the man started running. So the companions, because they still learning, they went behind him. And the Master Muhammad said, don't do that. If he escapes, then leave him and hide him and do not follow him. If you can take him and hide him in your home or hide him so that nobody sees him and everything is done, then do it. So there's huge difference between the text and understanding the text and implementing the text. That's why we should not go to the text and to books and start reading and start implementing and understanding by ourselves. We need to have people who have been taught by scholars who have been taught by scholars and so on and so forth until we see scholars have been taught by the companions and the companions who have been taught by our Master Muhammad. We need to understand the religion and we need, if we're not scholars, to leave understanding religion to the scholars and only learn what's benefiting us as people who are getting married and buying and selling and so on. And so there is huge difference between information and science. Information are pieces of information you can hear and read. Science is the actual process of how would you understand something. Information is like pieces of a single car. You can buy the glass, you can buy the windows, you can buy the tires, you can buy the steering wheel, you can buy the engine. That's information. But science is that you have a full car that is running and useful. So the science is the process. That's why people go and spend years and years in understanding how things go. Because a person could say something and that thing is wrong and it doesn't please Allah, and he thinks that, oh, I understand. No, you don't. That's why we have what we call scholars and what we call mufti, fatwa. Fatwa is to give your is fatwa is a person, mufti is a person who can give fatwa. So mufti is a person who is, we can call it the grand scholar. The grand scholar who actually understands the religion, knows the text, understands the religion, and knows how to implement the text, and knows life, and knows now, and how everything and how the world works, and can gap the bridge between them, can bridge everything together. So a mufti is not only a scholar, he has to go and study under a scholar, under a mufti, I'm sorry. So this religion is not a game. That's why we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected it. And then our Master Muhammad said, Al-ulama warathatul anbiya, because our Master Muhammad will die. He said, scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. So we have to go for them and seek the corrected, the authentic ones. That's what I wanted to say today. Do you have any questions, guys? Okay. So then see you inshallah in the next week. And as usual, if you have any questions during the week, please feel free to send them through the chat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.